my name is ZeBirdBrain, and today we're talking about cutout animation. So I know a lot about harmony and animation and stuff. Do I know a lot about cutout? No, but I know a little bit. So I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks. So let it be known, most of my cutout experience is working on Wakfu Season 3. On Flash CS4. It was horrible. Because in Flash, if you want to see the pupil of a character, each time you kind of open the body symbol and then the head symbol and then the face symbol and then the eye and then the inside eye, and every time you do that you have a new timeline. It's horrible, okay? I did do a little bit of cutout animation in Harmony, and I've done enough to help you and guide your way, but I'm not an expert. That's what I want to like lay down on the table. I'm an expert of everything else in Harmony, not cutout animation. Okay, disclaimer done, now let's go. Okay, so first I'm gonna start with the interface. When I animate and cut out, I like to have a few windows like this. I like to have my tool properties for all these very useful icons. I like to use the coordinate and control points view. I don't use it that much, but sometimes when I'm in a pinch, I like to have this information. So the coordinate and control points view is gonna tell you like what has happened to that peg. Like, is it moved in X, is it moved in Y? And I like to have that on site. Maybe that's because I used to be a 3D animator. Like, I have more experience animating in 3D than I do in cutout, so maybe that's why I kind of try to get my bearings from Maya to Harmony. I put it under tool properties because I rarely need to use both of them at the same time. Then on the second panel here, I have my drawing substitution view to see my mouth drawings or my hands and everything. And I also have my reference view so that I can see my references as I animate. When I do pose, sometimes I'll have the reference view just to see my character bible to see if it's still accurate. But usually, you have an animatic also that you're gonna use. Sometimes when I have an animatic, what I like to do is I open it into like a second camera, and I'm gonna have sometimes like my animatic in there, and then I'm gonna put it there so I can see like my animatic here. I'll talk about that in a future video, but that's useful, and that's why we get the advanced display preference so that you can have different displays. So I would have my scene here, and maybe in here I would have just my animatic. It's just a different display that you would need. I can fake it here with that layer. I'm just gonna give it a display under. I would call that animatic. And then here I would go get animatic. And I would see my animatic in there. Anyway, I'm sidetracking now. I'm just gonna go back here to my reference in my drawing subs. And then usually here I have my node view and my colors. This is because I rarely need my color and my node view at the same time, so they're easy to navigate. You see my timeline is smaller. This is just my personal preference. A lot of people still prefer it when the timeline goes all the way. This is just, do whatever suits you. I'm going to show you how to change it though. If you want to take your timeline, you kind of take it and you tore it off, and then you're going to hold it. And then depending on where you intend on dropping it, Harmony is going to show you the result. So if I want it to go all the way across, I'll need to put it really down. And then this is what happens. Ta-da! So you get more space for your timeline. But then when I do that, I have way less space for the other windows, so that's my personal preference. I do prefer to have it docked within kind of the left square here. I also like it because then I can play with it and it doesn't mess with my other side panel here. Now we're gonna get into the cool stuff. So when I animate cutouts, there's some icons that I use all the time, and they're located into the tool properties. Make sure you have your transform tool active, go to your tool properties, and we're gonna study these 3 lovely icons. So the first one is called the peg selection mode. Peg selection mode will prevent you from having to, click on a layer and then have to press B a bunch of times to select the peg. So I'm going to show you what it does into the node view here. So if I click on my iris here, I have my iris drawing selected, and then I'll have to press B 1 or 2 times depending if you have a deformer to select the peg. If I use peg selection mode, that lovely thing, if I click on the eye here, it's going to directly go to the peg, which is kind of neat. The drawback with that though is that if I am doing more finesse thing like my hands animation or my lip sync, if I click on the mouth on the hand, I have selected the peg. Therefore, I will not see my drawings into the drawing substitution view. Alright, so that's kind of annoying sometimes. So when I do my finesse work, I kind of deactivate this so that when I click on my hand or my mouth, I see what they are. But for the most part, when you're doing your posing for your body, I do activate that because it's way better to be able to select your pegs as you go. The other one is called control selection mode. What does this do? It's amazing. So let's say I want to animate this little piece of my character's coat. If I get the deformers, normally I would need to kind of move the points one by one, or maybe if I feel frisky I can click on it and then shift click on the other dots to move them. That's kind of annoying. Life is way too short for me to do that. So when you activate this icon, it will allow you to kind of lasso, which is cool. And you can also select points across multiple layers, which is even more cool. So let's say I wanted to animate all these little hair pieces. I could, you know, activate their deformers, and I could take all of these like this and pull them, which is also amazing to do smears. So if I have this arm here on this pose and I want to make a smear with the arm, I can select like the whole arm, show up the deformer, and then, you know, I could take the dots and pull them, and you would get a smear across all your arm, which is pretty cool. And the third icon here is the mixed manipulation mode. So what this does, I covered it into another video, it allows you to move pegs and deformers at the same time, which is not something I recommend all the time. It can lead to a lot of problems, but what I do love it for is that if I take, for example, this jacket again, and I take the deformer, I can take them, and what it's going to do is it's going to give you like a bounding box that you'll be able to use to move your deformer, which is phenomenal to work with. Yeah, so the last little things I have to say is that don't forget that when you try to draw something, you can use O to click and drag and change the size of your cursor. But also, if you use O, you can click on a piece, and then if you press O into the node view, you're going to find that piece. Don't forget that the way you are zoomed in will matter. So if you're zoomed out really far and you try to select a piece, it'll keep that zoom. So you have to know that. And if you go in the timeline also, you will be able to find it by pressing O. Okay, so I hope that was entertaining, and I'll see you again next week for more tips and tricks about cutout animation.